Yo, what is going on, Headliner Nation? It's your boy, The Doc, and we are back for the Week 12 Injury Update Show. You guys know the deal. Each and every week, I, an actual doctor, tell you about all the injuries that you need to know about for your fantasy teams, give you my opinions on those injuries, and hopefully help you guys make the fantasy playoffs, which are right around the corner, and we are in the middle of probably the worst bye week of the NFL season. We have another big bye week coming up in Week 14. So just be aware that these injuries are going to play a major role for your lineup decisions because you're already limited given the number of teams that are on bye. So let's hop into it. Let's start with those first 6 teams on the bye: Falcons, Bills, Bengals, Jaguars, Saints, and Jets. I've seen some teams that have entire starting rosters sitting on the bench this week due to byes. So again, these injuries are important. And the one injury that I'm paying the most attention to has got to be quarterback Brock Purdy for the 49ers. Now, of all of the injuries this week, this is the one that I think has the most fantasy implications, just because Brock Purdy really is the engine to that offense. I know that they've got a lot of great players around him, but somebody's got to be throwing the rock to those players for them to be productive, and Brock Purdy has been that for the last few years. Now, he didn't appear to be hurt on any particular play in last week's game against Seattle, but he has been very limited in what he's doing in practice this week. Head coach Kyle Shanahan's calling it shoulder soreness, which I guess is a good thing because they're saying that it's not structurally something that's damaged. They don't give an exact diagnosis, but he is having pain. I haven't seen any reports of an MRI, which would tell us that they really don't think that structurally anything is wrong with his shoulder. That would be good news. The problem is he's not really telling us anything about what's going on with that shoulder when he says it's just soreness. It's just a symptom. It's not actually the cause of the symptom. What is causing the shoulder soreness? We really don't know at this point. And Brock Purdy actually skipped his media on Thursday after practice, so we haven't talked to him yet either. So we're really in the dark in terms of what is going on with his shoulder. What we do know is he did attempt to throw in the open portion of practice on Thursday. There were a few times, very short passes, and had to leave with trainers because he was having shoulder soreness still while he was trying to throw. So even if he's able to play this week, just know he might be a little limited as far as how far he can throw the ball down the field. And that's not really what you want to hear if you're planning on starting any of the 49ers pass catchers, but it might be a good thing for a guy like Christian McCaffrey, who could soak up a ton of short passes from Brock Purdy if he's able to play in this game. But just be aware, there is an opportunity here for Brock Purdy to be a late scratch. So if you're planning on starting him, have a backup plan in place. Next up, we'll talk briefly about Jaylen Herz. He has an ankle injury, has been limited in practice the last couple weeks, but he did get full practice in on Thursday. So don't think that there's any chance that he misses this game. Just know that he is hurting a little bit, pun intended on that. Moving on to the wide receivers. First up, we got CeeDee Lamb. He's dealing with back and foot pain. Reportedly picked this injury up last week in practice late in the week, but played through it fine. So I'm kind of surprised that there's some speculation on if he'll play this week. It doesn't sound like this is a major issue, but Dak Prescott's already been ruled out for the year. The team is currently tied for the second worst record in the NFC, and you have to wonder when this team will start shutting down their best players. Lamb may be the best player in the NFL right now that I'd want nowhere near my fantasy teams. I just think there's a really good chance that he gets shut down before the fantasy playoffs. If you still have time to trade him, I would be actively trying to do so. I just don't trust where the situation is going. And there is a chance that he could even miss this week because he is banged up. And again, team doesn't have a whole lot to play for anymore. We're going to shift over to some positive fantasy news for once. We've got wide receiver Mike Evans coming back from the hamstring strain. Haven't seen him since week 7, but he got a full practice in on Thursday. All indications are he's going to be able to return this week. Note that his re-injury risk is at its highest in his first week back. So he's not totally out of the woods, but it's going to be a week where he's going to be able to play, shouldn't have any limitations. And I'm throwing him back into my lineups, given all of the guys that we are going to be missing already this week, especially at that wide receiver position with all these really good teams on bye. Now, we'll talk about Isaiah Pacheco. We have not seen him since week 2 with the fibula fracture, but he is back practicing at least this week. It's in a limited fashion. There's some speculation that he may not actually return this week. So if you're planning on throwing him in your lineup, just be prepared. He could be a late scratch. Even if they do start him, I still think Kareem Hunt gets the bulk of the carries this week. I think they're going to ease Pacheco back in. We'll see if he has his legs under him yet. I'd like to see him in a limited capacity before I'm just raring to start him in my fantasy lineups. I just worry that he's going to be in a bit of a timeshare and may not have his wheels under him just yet. Moving over to the Raiders backfield, Alexander Madison has an ankle sprain, and based on the video, it looks like a high ankle sprain for Madison. Normal recovery timeline is about 2 to 6 weeks on this, so I'd be pretty surprised if Madison is able to play. Zamir White, who should have been his backup, is expected to miss this game as well because he's got a quad injury that he actually re-aggravated from an injury he had previously in week 9. Typically with a re-aggravation of an injury, players will miss even more time the second time they injure it. So I'd be very surprised to see Zamir White in this game. Amir Abdullah is in line to start, but honestly, I don't want any of the players on the Raiders anywhere near my lineups except for Brock Bowers. Heading over to the Packers and Josh Jacobs. He has a quad strain and a calf strain, but these are both very minor issues. He was limited last week only by the quad injury, so the calf issue is a new issue, but he did manage to play last week, 134 total yards on total 22 touches, so it's not like he wasn't productive in last week's game. We're keeping an eye on it heading into the weekend, but it's looking like a normal wear and tear for Josh Jacobs at this point. I haven't seen anything that makes me concerned that he will actually miss this game yet. Heading over to the Bears and running back DeAndre Swift. He has a groin injury. Missed practice Wednesday, but was able to get some work in on Thursday. Matt Eberflus said that he was hopeful that Swift would be able to play this week. Now, I personally don't trust that statement, or really any statement that coaches make, because nobody needs to be making fantasy decisions based on what the head coach says and really not what he hopes will happen. But I do trust the practice videos that came out from Thursday that showed Swift participating in drills. He looked pretty quick in those drills by my eye, and it sounds like he is progressing to be able to play this week, which is a good sign because, again, we need as many guys as we can due to all these buys. Finally, we got 3 tight ends to talk about. First up is George Kittle. He's dealing with a hamstring strain. Was able to get limited work in so far this week and has said that he plans on playing this week despite missing last week's game with the hamstring injury. And if the man himself says he's going to play, I'm not going to question him. He's one of the best tight ends in the NFL. And if he's playing, you're throwing him into your lineup. Now, another one of the best tight ends in the NFL, at least last season, was Sam Laporta for the Lions. And he's been able to practice in full despite having the shoulder injury all week. But I really think that Coach Dan Campbell said it best in his press conference on Wednesday when asked about Laporta, when he said, and I quote, I think it's trending. It's questionable. It's questionable to above for Laporta. You know, I think it's trending the right way. What else do you need from Dan Campbell? When you get a quote like that, you have to use it, and that tells us a ton. It's questionable, but probably maybe he's going to be able to play this week. So possibly, maybe throw him into your lineups. That's all I'm saying. And then finally, we got tight end Jake Ferguson dealing with a concussion. Left Monday's game with a concussion, hasn't practiced yet this week. Luke Schoonemaker would be the guy that steps into this spot for the Cowboys, but do you really want to be starting Luke Schoonemaker? I don't think so. If you do, best of luck to you. I won't be doing it in my leagues, but I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. All right, guys, that's it for this week's injury video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If there's anybody I missed, let me know in the comments down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton. And we are getting very, very close to 250,000 subscribers. Thank you so much to Headliner Nation. You guys know that we appreciate you guys subscribing to the channel. It helps us out so much. And it's great to see so many people becoming members of Headliner Nation. And if you want to become a member of our exclusive Discord, hit the join button down below. Become a member and get access to the Discord. It's a great place to have great fantasy football conversations and just live conversations and talk to a bunch of people that love this sport as much as you do. And it's just full of really great people. I can't say enough about how awesome our Discord community is. hit that join button if you want to be a part of it. I want to thank our sponsor, Underdog. If you haven't already, sign up with Underdog. Use the code Headliners when you sign up to get up to $1,000 bonus cash on your first deposit. Even if your fantasy season didn't go the way you wanted it to, you can still make some money on Underdog Fantasy when you use the code Headliners when you sign up and get some free cash, make some bets on the games. That's all I got for you guys this week. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.
Analytics off the chain, all the channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headline Nation, we running the game.